Wake the farm up. Welcome. This is the podcast by Wake the Farm Up called Maintaining Ground. And I am your host, Andy the Elf. In this podcast experiment, I'll be talking with old friends, new friends, and a whole variety of people who are very inspiring, intriguing, and have their own opinion about the world to share and incredible stories. So I hope you enjoy this experiment.
'Cause that's what's going down, ditches.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Yo, are you ready? Welcome. Today we have our lovely kitty cat scratching guest, Cleocatra.
Hey.
Glad to have you, Cleocatra. So what's been making you purr lately?
Oh my gosh, I bought roller skates and I feel like nervous about them arriving because they're going to be super badass. So
What do your roller skates look like?
they're black suede and black wheels and they're indoor outdoor and I bought like a gradient rainbow laces for them because I was like, I need to be fly.
So you're gonna put lights on them or anything? Customize them?
Probably.
A little more, yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
What color wheels do they have?
They're black, but I did see like some people at the rink have the lights underneath, and I thought that was so cool, and probably need to get some.
Yeah, Cleocatra on the rink. That sounds like a song.
Hell yeah.
So have you come out with a new album in a little while?
I have not, but I started picking up my guitar lessons recently, and I'm trying to make sure I get some really good Delta blues guitar riffs down so I can jam with my father, who has a strange alter ego that is distinctly like Cajun.
Okay, some Cajun cat jams.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah, you don't want to see a cat in a cage, but you want to see a cat jamming Cajun.
But my dad's moniker for this alter ego is Catfish Peppercorn.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cleocatra and the Catfish Peppercorn.
Yeah. So.
Sounds spicy, fun.
Yeah, definitely spicy.
You had some cat raps.
Oh yeah, so I did have some cat raps, and these were all like freestyle. I just downloaded the Rap Chat app years ago, and they have all these amazing beats, and I recorded a bunch of like cat-related raps on that.
Let's check it.
Just let me go out to space just for a quick minute. I said, what? But I said, let me go, get up there, I will take the wheel, so give me what I need, mama, just a little change, $100, that's all I need, just to get from here to there. I'll be on Mars, I'll be on fleek, I'll be fucking like you never seen. I'm a cat on the scene, and I'm looking real mean.
And that's just like a taste of it, people. Go check out all that.
Because it's a cohesive album. I just was so excited that, I released them. But the title song is Big Treats, and at the end of Treats, it's a Z, not an S.
It sounds like it could be a pyramid scheme, too.
Actually, I have a huge, sweet spot for pyramid schemes, so I really like all of this that you're saying.
Okay, how many pyramid schemes have you collected in your journey?
What the actual farm?
I was recruited into a pyramid scheme by my grandmother when I was 15 years old, She sold Patriot Fashion's lingerie, and in order to meet her goals and win a trip, she needed more agents. So she recruited my friend and I, and we had the time of our lives, like pretending to sell lingerie to neighbors, my neighbors.
Wow, so you went around like Girl Scouts trying to sell cookies, but you're like, they're opening the door expecting to see Thin Minutes, and you're pulling out lingerie.
Basically, yeah, we had home parties. I had the neighbors over. I sold hardly anything, but I had a ton of fun making fun of all the lingerie because it was really cheesy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
she made like a ton of money doing this. She actually made it to the highest rank within this multi-level marketing company. It was amazing.
Is that like a platinum?
Yeah, she was all the way up there, and she had like over 200 agents under her just because she was scamming people like me to like sign up for, being agents.
Wow. So was your friend under you then?
I actually don't know, but I should ask her, although she now has dementia. Fortunately, she's still living. She probably would remember, though, so I'm going to ask her.
So I know I met you probably a little bit later than when you were selling Girl Scout lingerie. But when I did meet you, I have this memory of you being in a relationship with like a prince.
Yeah, I had some super weird relationships, and that could be like I had. It's like a magnet for very interesting characters.
Yeah, that's probably how we met.
And I also was remembering you today because I was thinking I've been in some bands, and you were in like one of our performances in a basement somewhere where it was like kind of death metal / other stuff jams.
Well, yeah, you played the clarinet, right?
Yes.
So
yeah.
that you were like our lead clarinet player.
Yep.
We were called Ghost Kite.
Yep.
And we were like a kite that didn't have a string. It was kind of like this ghost free form thing. And we were really into the performative aspect.
So much so that I remember a couple of people noticing that were going to have us open for them, and then they canceled that show because they feared that we would not be an appropriate opening act.
Yes, it's true. You and I were canceled before that was like a thing. Yeah, we had a full apocalypse theme for our presentation. It was probably like they probably were happy that they canceled us, but they have no idea what could have happened. We could have changed the shape and the whole aspect of a whole entire city that day.
Yeah, it's kind of like that moment where you look back on a famous recording artist and their early days were really rocky and everyone hated them. I feel like maybe that was where we were at.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I mean, people weren't quite ready to enjoy the humor of the apocalypse quite yet. I don't remember zombie apocalypse things being quite a big thing yet. Of course, they were out there, but
they were out there, but we were really pushing it. And then, here comes Walking Dead and stuff like that. So I guess it was before our time.
Yeah, I remember we had a guy with a fire truck planning to pull up outside of the exhibit, and it was a place that had large windows, so they obviously would have seen it, and we were going to do kind of like that the War of the Worlds concept, and like create this theme that the apocalypse was starting to happen right then, and see what that did to the audience.
I'm still game. Like, I kind of feel like this is still right.
Right now,
Yeah.
they'd be running out like, okay, let's go get some toilet paper.
Oh, that's right. We could have toilet paper on the fire truck.
Just ready to distribute to them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
like, don't worry, you're going to be okay.
We've just had so many really interesting global things happen that I think, people are just like, yeah, bring on the fire truck.
Yeah, set up a nice fire truck in front of this place and hand out toilet paper or something. Can we have like at least like a stretcher that we can like jump out of the third floor onto?
What
Ooh.
the farm?
I'm feeling like having stretchers around for sure.
What the farm are they actually talking about?
Yeah, it's, everybody should like, jump out of a window at least once in their life and be caught by firemen with a stretcher thing, handheld trampoline or whatever. What are those called anyway?
I don't know, but like all this stuff is really like I'm feeling it replacing all of the line dancing that's in a lot of music videos. I feel like if we just start using like stretchers and like all this jumping out of the window, like trampoline things, like then it'll just replace all that kind of been done so many times, like 10 people dancing the same dance facing the camera type of thing.
Yeah, maybe like that's how it starts out, but slowly some of them just fall over and they get picked up by a stretcher.
I'm feeling this because I've just been like watching like music videos. I'm like, oh, they've been doing this forever. Like, how many dances could they do?
Yeah. It's like Crisscross, I think, was like the last one that should have done it. They put their pants on backwards. Like they actually did something different.
Yeah, like Madonna kind of did Super Dancy, and then Michael Jackson.
Oh,
was
Madonna
like,
Madonna had the cones too.
Yeah,
that was
like,
tight.
Michael Jackson actually did the, people coming out of the grave like zombie dance, and so that was intense.
Right. Yeah.
So
he was an intense person for sure.
like, where more can we go with these dances? So yeah,
it's an interesting concept, with the internet evolving into culture where when I was a kid, like our neighborhood would have its own little dance, what the kids in my neighborhood or whatever did. Now they all do the floss. All around the world, people are doing the same dances. They're all, they see it on the internet and then there's like a hashtag for it. And so they're all doing the same dances. So there's this kind of like globalized mindset that's happening. It's very fascinating. We're starting to lose a lot more of the unique. It's like we're franchising out our creativity.
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't really thought of it that way, but I just feel really seen right now because, I also did these dances in the streets when I was a young person, and I didn't know what other people were doing. I only knew what we were doing.
Did you have a skip it?
Oh my gosh.
Or a pogo ball?
I had neither, but my friends did.
Okay.
I did have rollerblades, and I was in like a rollerblade/roller skate gang, and we lived outside of Gary, Indiana. So my friends were a little bit rough around the edges. So we would skate around and do light vandalism. And then also dance in the streets to hip hop and things like Ugly Kid Joe.
That sounds pretty cool. So what was Gary, Indiana like back then?
Gary, Indiana was pretty sucky, but like cool sucky. So when you look back, when I look back at the richest times of my life, they usually involved some kind of like weird environment, which this was. So we lived in Portage, which is right next to Gary, and it was like suburban trash that I was kind of enmeshed in, and I was one of them.
Yeah.
And things that were hot at the time were grunge, and this was like way before Britney Spears stuff.
Oh,
so,
yeah. She wasn't even a dart yet.
No, so we had like pretty adult music to latch onto. It was hair bands and grunge, and the pop stuff. But I just remember my mother getting me for Easter the Nirvana Nevermind album and the Guns N' Roses albums and Motley Crue, and that's what I had.
Incredible, yeah.
And so, amen to her.
Incredible taste, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever remember a band called Winger?
No.
I can't remember a whole lot of their songs, but one that I kept thinking of randomly, strangely recently, they have one called She's Only 17.
What the
And it's just so wild that a band would put that out back then. Like,
Well,
You
since
can't-
you mention it, like, I think there are a lot of songs like that.
yeah, like I've been watching you. Like, what's that? The Police? Like it's like the theme song of any like stalker creep ever. It's like every move you make, every step you take, I'll be watching you.
Well, specifically, the Police song "Don't Stand So Close to Me" is like hearkening to the story of Lolita because it's about the teacher like looking at the student. And I remember one of my teachers was treating me like that when I was in high school, and my mother said when that song came on one time, "This reminds me of you and Mr. So and so."
Wow.
I was thinking, like, if it does, shouldn't you step in and like advise here?
Yeah, like that makes you think of that.
Yeah. So, but you reminded me that there's also like a Depeche Mode song. It's called Sweet 15, and there's a lot of songs
yeah.
about teenagers being hot potential groupies.
Yeah, that's a no. No.
Well, if you think about like the rock era, a lot of their groupies were underage, and famously so. And I think that's really fascinating because when I was that age, I felt so much more adult than I actually was and would have wanted to be treated that way, actually.
Yeah, I can see that. Same.
Yeah, so there you have it.
Yeah, we just couldn't vote. That's, the big thing.
Yeah,
And
couldn't vote, couldn't technically, like by law, drink, but you could have access to whatever.
yeah, I remember it was fairly easy to take a Sharpie and change your birth date on a driver's license back then. I don't know how that works now, but there's cameras everywhere.
That's right.
So I try to put on a good show, do what I do. Bust
You
out.
always put on a good show. You always have entertainment of it.
There's people sitting around watching, but they say there's AI watching, so they don't have to have security guards sitting watching anymore. But those AIs, they got to have some fun too.
Indeed. I think fun is like the magic of the universe, actually. And when I'm not having fun, things just go downhill in every corner of my life.
Yeah, it's amazing. You can make anything fun, really.
You can.
It's like your arm just like got severed and it's bleeding off, and you're just like, wow, I've never experienced that before. I can make this fun somehow.
What the farm?
Yeah, it's all about your attitude.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really want to lose my arm, but if it's happening, might as well.
Yeah, like what are you going to do?
I mean, there's always the joke that things are expensive, that you trade in an arm and a leg for it. So if your arm's severed, I guess you could take it and try to get something really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'd make the best of it. It would suck, but I'd make the best of it.
I don't know who trades for arms and legs. I've never accepted that. Like when I was doing farmer's market or any kind of retail, I wouldn't like have somebody come in and be like, I got 3 arms and 4 legs. Can I buy that?
Yeah, like I have a business and we only accept like money. So
Yeah. I mean, if somebody came up with a little sack of like gold coins and dropped it on the table and said, "Is this enough?" I'd pick it up, weigh it briefly, and say, "Yeah, it's fine."
Yeah, I'd probably just say yes, just because it like reminds me of 10 million movie scenes where they put a little sack down, and I'm always so curious, like how do they trust like it's the right amount?
Yeah, they just like weigh it, maybe pull one of the coins out and bite it. and just
Ooh.
just eye them down while you're biting the coin.
Which reminds me of Craigslist transactions, which I'm also fascinated by because I'm going to do one tomorrow and I've done them for a long time.
Yeah.
And I go in and out of like, should I go on Craigslist? I actually started my business on Craigslist.
Who is Craig anyway?
I don't know. That's a good question, but he's brilliant.
Yeah, he's got a list in like every town.
Yeah, like towns that you wouldn't even expect. But like the negotiations on Craigslist, it's really still one of the, I mean, there's etiquette, but it's still like a wild west in a way.
Yeah, it's like meet me at the gas station at 3:20.
Yeah.
Bring the armoire.
That's exactly right.
I'll have the cash in a suitcase.
I remember driving feverishly to Liberty Township to purchase like a really strange like pencil, colored pencil drawing of a lassie type of dog, like a collie.
Yeah.
I just had to have it.
Nice.
And I got a ticket on the way because I was driving so fast. So it was like twice as expensive as it should have been. Yeah, and so we had this exchange in probably some fast food restaurant parking lot where I purchased this picture and, you know, the thrill of the chase and the hunt.
Yeah, you're like looking at it like, is it really what I was expecting? Is this genuine?
It was probably like $30, but to me...
Has this been stolen? Was this stolen from an art museum?
I never wonder if it's stolen. I'm just like, it's on Craigslist. They're listing it. It's for me.
Yeah. Farm, yeah.
I decided that my favorite art was connected to people that I know. And I do know a lot of artists. And I hit upon a gold mine last year when I started hanging out a little bit more with my aunt. And she had mentioned in passing that she had some paintings that she had done through a class. And I said, oh, cool. When I come down, I would love for that to be my Christmas present if you're offering it, like to select one of your paintings. And lo and behold, they were all incredible. Like, she considers
Cool.
herself an amateur, but I was like, Aunt Janet, you're amazing. And I left with 12 of her paintings, and I had them all
Cool.
framed.
That's awesome.
And they're excellent. So anything that, like, there's a story connected to a person that I know is definitely a priority, because then my walls are filled with people that I love.
Do your cats ever make paintings?
They don't, but I consider them just sculptures wherever they go. And
Live action sculpture.
yeah, they just look good with everything. The entire decor has to coordinate with them, and it does. And I take lots of photos of them, and they have their own Instagram account, so
That's nice.
they're pretty artistic.
Do you ever catch them like sending like vanishing pictures to other cats?
No, they are just kind of antisocial, which is disappointing to me.
Oh, but they have social media.
They do. So they're cool with like humans and socializing with humans, but animal to animal, they're just like kind of snooty, which is a shame, because I think they could have some like strong relationships with other animals if
They could even do like some catfishing and like get onto, you know, Instagram and like look for some mice or something that have profiles and try to lure them in, or maybe even a ball of yarn that has its own profile.
See, if they knew that was possible, they'd totally be on Instagram all the time.
Yeah, they could probably hook up with some big time catnip dealers.
Actually, one of my cats particularly likes snakes, so he would be like looking for snakes on social media and trying to meet snakes because he just always seems to find snakes.
Cool. And then there's a few of those giant snakes that wrap around vans and stuff. They're pretty popular to see on the social media sites.
I have not seen this, but it is definitely on my list as soon as this is over.
Yeah, I don't know why, but somehow on my Instagram feed, I receive images of large anacondas wrapped around vans and tourists looking at the van amazed. Various scenes of that from, different places.
Well, my Instagram must be broken because it's not showing me those. I'll have to get jiggy with that ASAP.
I don't know. Who would have ever thought of an algorithm? Like a rhythm that you can't even like dance to, and it puts these different images in front of you based on what you put a little heart on or a thumbs up.
Absolutely. I actually started an Instagram handle for someone that owned like a urban clothing store. He was trying to sell all of his Air Jordans and close his shop and get out of there. And I was like, why don't I post these? These are super cool.
How many Air Jordans does one guy have?
He had this shop and he had probably like 5,000 shoes in there. And like he was gonna just like sell everything and move back to Chicago. So I created this Instagram account and I just called it Air Force One Nation. And the algorithm for that Instagram account was all about like urban gear and stuff. And it was like really fascinating how that would show me really totally different stuff than my regular one.
Yeah, totally.
So it became like a little friend that I didn't want to lose.
I think it's funny. It's the Air Force One, and I've been contemplating about how AF is one of those things. When something's cool AF, it's cool as fuck. But in the past, AF to me would have meant Air Force. So when I see people put down "that's cool AF," I'm like, that's cool Air Force.
And also, like, the social media just tires people or, like, makes an inside joke over really quickly. And that makes me tired, just, like, being a part of that.
Being a part of what? Say that again?
Like, when inside jokes are already over by the time you catch on to them because they just catch fire across social media really quickly.
Right. Like, what's an example of that?
Like, it took me a long time. I used to see people texting or chatting, and then I would see LOL, and I secretly didn't know what it meant for a while.
Same.
Eventually, I realized I needed to figure out what those things meant, but then there would be things like AF that would come and be popular and then go by the wayside quickly. So trends coming and going very feverishly.
So it's a lot of these acronyms that are funny. I mean, the only ones I knew from back in the day were like OG ones like RIP, because like that's what you drew on cardboard graves during Halloween. It meant rest in peace. And then the other ones that were like I really liked was OPP, because there was that song, "Are You Down with OPP?" I don't know what that was all about, but
Other people's privates, specifically.
Okay.
Yeah, I just listened to it the other day, actually.
Yeah, you know me.
So, I was listening to like a 90s hip hop playlist because of back to the roller skate theme. I started going to this adult skate night where it was like throwback jams and stuff like that. So I was trying to get into the mood.
So when you say adult skate night, is that like when you're, driving on the highway and you see a sign that says adult mart or adult bookstore? Is it like adult themed like that? Do you have?
It would be awesome if it was, but the thing that I went to was just as awesome, which was this 30 and over skate night over in Coleraine. And I went with my friend, and we were blown away because everyone was so good at roller skating.
Oh, they're like going backwards and stuff.
Yeah, it was super amazing. And we rented skates, but most everybody there had their own skates and they were really like dancing,
Cool.
really cool, like hip hop dance on skates. And it was like the feeling of being in the middle of this magical carpet ride on wheels. And the last time we went, there was someone roller skating backwards playing a saxophone.
Fun! Yeah!
Yeah, those are great. Like, that's great 80s tunes. A lot of, like, roller rinks will do the throwbacks. But this one in particular had, like, a DJ every night that we've been.
Playing fresh cuts, huh?
Like a mixture. Like, you know, kind of all the way back to funk and groove and hip-hop and R&B and even some spoken word, like, layered over some just jams. It was really good.
Nice. So what's your favorite to skate to?
I mean, I've always really liked roller skates. I had rollerblades and I wanted roller skates. I just didn't have any. And we would, you know, I was in that roller skate gang. I had rollerblades, so we would skate on the streets. But when you're in the rink, it's totally different. So I love anything upbeat with a groove, like, and I love so much music. That one that I went to happened to be more like hip hop and R&B, but I also just love, like, you know, anything that has a high energy feel to it. I just love music.
Yeah, that's good. Good high energy grooves.
Yeah, like the other day I came across this psychedelic / Delta blues band that I was like, oh my gosh, I would totally love to skate to this because it's high energy, but also has like a really cool groove to it. And it's this band from the 60s called Fear Itself. And I was listening to this Black Keys album and I was like, oh, these are all covers of older stuff. So I started to research the originals and I came across all this stuff that was like really super cool, like the original stuff that they were trying to kind of modernize.
Yeah. It's always interesting as things get modernized and when one part of it gets lost and people don't even know it's a piece of the past being reiterated.
Yeah, so after I listened to that stuff and then I went back and listened to like the Black Keys version, I was like, well, I definitely like the originals better. I can see why they recorded it. And I can see why some other artists are calling them copycats. I think there's a place for it, but it's fun to go back to the roots and like listen to what was unique about where it came from.
Yeah. Well, it's even true too when music performers play a piece that was written in the 16th century. I mean, there's obviously no original recording. I mean, I guess it's not totally obvious. Anything could be possible, but we're not familiar with how they actually performed and played it back then. Are we really hearing what's written? Is there a way to prove that to me?
Yeah, and like instruments were probably a little bit different than we even think, and I'm just so fascinated by that. But also, I have like a huge obsession with amphitheaters that the ancient cultures built, and just I think how cool would it be to be a fly on the wall in any of these times that we just have no clue about.
What do you think of this now, present time?
I think that there's so many options to focus on that it can take you away and you have a choice. There's more choices than ever. So I love how many choices we have to focus on positive and fun things. And I feel like we live in this amazing time in history where there's just so much at your fingertips.
So, what are some things that you really enjoy? You know, like as the Cleocatra enjoys catnip. Like, what are some kind of things that you find that you really enjoy in this time?
So my catnip is music, and I'll go to as many concerts as I can. But also, I was just an amateur, like, music appreciator and karaoke person. But I recently just started learning an instrument more seriously, and I feel like every square inch of my time that can be put into something positive and creative is worthwhile, especially if it involves other people and other people that are also interested in being healthy and positive. And I think that's really special about this time that we live in, because I love, like, period TV shows and movies and stuff, and when I look at these people, like, a lot of their time was spent, like, making food, and we don't have to do that today.
Yeah, but we can, which is fun, right? It's like,
yes.
So when we do make it, it's like just like anything else, it's a fun special event. But yeah, it's true. There's like you look at a castle that took 250 years to build. It's like there's generations of people doing the same exact thing, and technology advanced really slowly. Maybe they figured out a better way to make a pulley, but that's like 3 generations later. You're only talking like 80 years into building the castle.
That's right, and I think that's so fascinating, because I think there's like a beauty in things going extremely slowly and waking up to an idea over 3 decades. But we're not living in that time. We're living in like mass momentum, and it can be very stressful. So that's why I try to focus on things that are fun and positive and simplify.
How do we deal with stress, anxiety, the FOMO? There's another acronym. You know that one, right?
Yes. Speaking of FOMO, like, I got kind of triggered last week, FOMO related, and I realized it was like people talking to me that were projecting some FOMO.
What the fuck?
Because I try and have a lot of fun and be happy, and I work on that. Like, I try to do preventative maintenance with that.
Yeah.
And I realized I ran into somebody that knows me from a social circle, and they made a point to talk so much about the cool things they were doing. And I felt a little FOMO, and then I reflected back on it, and I thought, I'm feeling their FOMO. Like, they're so busy trying to do things that are cool that, they're trying. And I've worked really hard to just really enjoy where I'm at. And it took some work to do that.
Watch me, Mojo. Watch me do some farm work.
It does take work in this time. It's an adaptation, the same kind of thing people had to do to adapt to living through the Ice Age to get to where we are now. But I think one of the funny things I've heard recently is these scientists talking about how, like, 20 years from now, we might not need to learn anymore because we'll have these neuro implants. And with the neuro implants, it'll make learning obsolete because we'll just know all the information.
Oh my gosh, that's trippy. I believe that it could be.
I just wonder how a person could hold the anxiety or stress of knowing all the information.
Well, do you remember when that movie Lawnmower Man was really popular?
Haha, yeah, Lawnmower Man. Totally.
It reminds me of that. And I remember distinctly he is in this chair, like jumping out of his skin because he's getting inundated with all of this information.
Okay.
And I don't think he survives it very well.
Yeah, I remember that movie, him having a really hard time. I just looked it up. It's 1992. I have probably not have seen it since then, but it's something I think about a lot, especially with the virtual reality worlds that they're introducing into our real world now. And that's a good 90s throwback to take a look at what we were thinking and projecting onto that already.
Lumberman! What the farm?
Really? You're gonna give out movie recommendations? Yeah!
Yeah, and I think the takeaway that I've come to is like, even if information can be injected into you, you're still on a journey. And I learned that it's the journey and enjoying and appreciating the journey that is where you're usually at.
Yeah. I mean, riding on a horse is fascinating. Getting to the destination, getting off the horse could be just as fascinating. You know, kicking the bar door open and walking in after getting off the horse and riding the horse could be awesome. All the people that turn and look at you when you walk in and you just kick the door open, that could be awesome too.
Yeah, and like taking your shoes off and smelling your stinky shoes, like that is like a good time too.
Yeah, and maybe even offering it to the first person you see, like, hey, you want to smell this?
Yeah. If someone did that to me, I probably would just smell it just because I don't know why.
I'd probably,
scents.
yeah, I'd probably offer to, like, I'd smell theirs and be like, hey, you want to smell mine?
Yeah.
What the actual farm?
I just think that like scents really take me places, so
Yeah,
I always think about that.
yeah, they still haven't figured out how to email a smell to someone.
Yes, and when you were talking about like we don't really know what instruments sound like, we don't also know what things smelled like in cities and stuff, which I think, you know, it's been reported that it was pretty gross.
Yeah, but it was what you're used to.
That's right.
Have you hung out with Lisa Frank in a little while?
No, but I won all of her nail polish and she signed the nail polish. It was like
Whoa.
the best day of my life last year.
So when you won that, you won like a whole box of different color Lisa Frank style signature colors.
Yes. And so I saw it on Instagram that Lisa Frank was partnering with this nail polish company to release every one of her signature colors. And my eyes about popped out of my head and I wanted to go get them, but it's like it's no fun if you just get one. You have to get them all. So it would have been like $100 to get all of them. And I was like, well, that's like a lot for nail polish that I don't really need, but of course it's Lisa Frank stuff, so I need it.
Yeah.
And then I saw like, and I was just like, I was just loving it. I was just loving it. I was seeing other people buy these on Instagram and do like the most insane manicures with these colors. Like Lisa Frank inspired leopard print and everything like just shockingly neon and gorgeous. So Instagram showed me this little sweepstakes and I was just in a really good mood about it. So it was total like law of attraction, manifesty. Clicked on it. Boom! I was just in a good mood. I filled it out. I didn't think about it. I just was happy for everyone enjoying these nail polish colors and I was like, I love them too. I'll get them at some point. I'd like to get them soon. That's fun. That's great. I get an email. You won. And I'm like,
Wow.
score of the this century.
Yeah, you know I'm a big Lisa Frank fan. I was a boy who had a Lisa Frank Trapper Keeper at a time. I had the leopard on it. I can't remember his name, but I know all the characters have names.
Yeah, so speaking of Cleocatra, I had the Cleocatra Trapper Keeper.
Wow. Is
And
that what it was called, Cleocatra?
Yes, and it's a Lisa Frank designed cat/Cleopatra character. Cleocatra.
Cool.
And I loved Lisa Frank, but it was really like becoming an adult and seeing this rejuvenation of the Lisa Frank stuff that I really realized how insanely amazing the art is. And my friend just gave me like a bunch of stickers from Lisa Frank, and there's just so much in 1 square inch of a Lisa Frank image that you could just appreciate it forever, because it's like a universe of color and culture and pop culture and everything that is positive and joyous, and I'm so about Lisa Frank.
Wake the farm up.
Speaking of our Garbage Pail stickers, I did have a collection of the Garbage Pail Kids, but since they were so gross, I didn't let them mingle with my other stickers.
Yeah, I guess it's, you gotta have them separate sometimes, but
They were.
yeah, there was like Atom. It was like a little doll that had its head exploding with an atom bomb.
Yeah, like I appreciated them. I was like, I can see that this is worthy of having, but they're not to touch my other stickers. Like Lisa Frank, I definitely would want to revisit because I do have good memories of them.
I just had to. I just looked it up. The Trump one was Donald Dump. And it's like a cartoon, like Garbage Pail Kid style version of Trump sitting on the toilet.
I'm looking it up right now too. I don't understand why people haven't resurrected this and like grandeur right now.
He's using the Constitution for his toilet paper too. I wonder if that's new. That might be new.
Yeah.
That might be a revisited thing.
Huh.
It's hard to tell anymore.
Yep.
Yep, those were fun. Garbage Pail Kids. Kids loved them. Parents hated them.
Yeah, I think it's fun to embrace certain gross things for sure.
Yeah, and humor.
Yeah, they were definitely funny.
I mean, they were just like the epitome of kid humor, like potty humor, gross humor, morbid humor,
Sweet!
I think I had a year or two go by where I called everybody butt fungus.
That's still funny to me.
I might have to pull it out for another year. Why not? But I did have karma hit me. So years later, I remember riding the city bus every day, and I actually got butt fungus.
What the farm?
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but maybe I had too thin of pants on or something, and I just sat in the wrong spot and I picked something up. So I never sit on buses anymore. I always stand up and hold on to the little rope.
Speaking of butt fungus, a friend of mine currently has it, and I'm not going to name any names. And
Oh, come on. You can name the name on the podcast and let everybody know so they don't sit where they sat.
I can't. This person is kind of self-contained, so I'm not worried about the listeners, but I noticed that my friend had this butt fungus, and I thought, am I the friend to bring this up? Or, like, check on this person and see if they need help?
Yeah, I mean, usually a comfrey calendula fungal salve would kind of make it go away. That's what I did. I just had a nice greasy butt for a few weeks with a salve on me, and it went away.
Maybe I'll encourage him to grease his butt.
Yeah. I mean, guys like when their friends encourage them to grease their butt.
I will take it to that level soon.
Yeah. I know I was kind of saving it for another episode to talk about like your involvement with permaculture and landscape design and things like that. I felt like we had some really cool topics in here.
We do, and on top of all that, my dad is becoming sort of a farmer hobbyist,
Cool.
which is really fun because he's not really a beginner, but he's drumming it up for the first time in a long time in a place where he hasn't lived for that long. It's a lot hotter. He lives near Myrtle Beach.
Okay.
And they have really sandy soil. So
There's a
like
really fun plant that grows in that part of the world called dollarweed. And it's
okay, I'll have to tell him about it because I've never heard of it.
It's in the celery and parsley kind of family. You can eat the leaves just as they are. They're like little circles, which might be why it's been dubbed dollarweed. It's because it's like the size of a silver dollar or something, you know? And
Oh, that's cool.
they also have roots that you can dig up that I've had pickled before. They're pretty good.
Oh my gosh, there's a lot of them.
I know whenever I hang out with you, we get into really funny stuff.
Yeah, I do live with 3 cats, and they're my companions. They're really fun. I talk to them all the time. It's like a monologue all day long.
What kind of things do you say to your cats?
A lot of times, like, I'm just kind of stream of consciousness, and so after I say something, it cracks me up to find out what I just said. Like, it might be advice that I'm giving to my cat, but really I'm giving it to myself.
Okay.
And I'll say it in a kitty voice, which
Yeah, give me some
kinda-
kitty voice.
like there's 3 of them, and they each all have their own kitty voice that's
Okay.
unique to them. So like Mercury's kitty voice is a little bit like channeling Milhouse from The Simpsons. Mercury, I have no idea why you're looking at me funny like that. How do you come up with your eyes being so big? His eyes are always so big. So one of the things my cats always do is they always have their eyes really wide open. So it makes me want to like ask them questions that don't have an answer, like rhetorical questions. And I'll just be like, have you been watching what's going on in the Ukraine? Those people need help and we're over here. What should we do? And like he's looking at me right now with his eyes wide open. And he's like, I don't know what we should do.
He's
like,
thinking about it.
yeah, he's like, why don't you tell me how we should help these people?
Wake the farm up. Maybe we should quit buying oil from Russia.
Yeah, and like we might like expand upon that. And like Goldie, my girl kitty, who's a brat, she'll be like, I don't want to have anything to do with Ukraine people coming in my house, messing up my things, doing things with my blankets, laying where I lay. Let's just leave them there and donate. If they need support, we could maybe draw them a pity picture and give them a pity picture.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what's going on? I mean, no, you don't hear about the cats in Ukraine. You don't hear about it. Like, what are the cats doing?
You don't, but I did see like a heartwarming photo of a man that reunited with his cat after his home was bombed, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, how many, people are separated from their pets. Cat culture around the globe, like it's different wherever you go. Like I've been to different parts of the world where people have their pets or whatever, and the experience is really different, and like cats are different around the world, and people relate to them differently around the world. For example, when I was in Latvia, people had pet cats there, and they they seemed different. They seemed like Latvian cats. They were just not like our cats here. And I noticed this.
Meow.
So have you talked to your cats about the floods in Australia?
No, is it flooding there right now?
And we're just not hearing about it in the news that much, but yeah, whole entire cities being flooded, and there's images that are very apocalyptic looking of just like all kinds of mud like caked onto the sides of buildings where the water had been. Just whole entire like modern cities, you know, like of course it's in Australia, so their signs and everything are quite a little bit different, but the same kind of scene that you would see anywhere in America, you know, like where you have strips of franchise stores and banks and all that just totally flooded out, trash, furniture, garbage all over the place because the waters have been just coming up.
Oh, I just looked it up. It's like Brisbane, Queensland. I have a friend in Melbourne, so I connect with him sometimes, and that looks awful. It looks like what Katrina looked like.
I find it very fun to talk with an Australian accent when I'm talking about permaculture.
I love how they like everything is like a question. They
Good on you, mate. How you feeling, Sheila?
So I have a guy that I met a few years ago at a convention, and we have very similar circumstances always happening in our lives. We started doing Zoom shamanic journeys together.
Wow.
And we were doing a study, and we reported some really fascinating things based on these journeys where we would set an intention to meet in a specific imaginary place, and then after the journey talk to each other about what we experienced in our imagination. And we would connect on Zoom and then chat for a brief minute, then start our journey drum beat and, you know, have an intention what we were going to do during the journey. After the 20-minute journey, we would open our eyes and share what we experienced, and we would both report eerily, like very similar journeys or very similar themes. But one of the things that we did was we set an intention that we would meet in this imaginary location called like a retreat, like a spa retreat, like a health retreat. So
Cool.
that if we went there in the journey, we would receive like healing and care. And we would always, after the journey, report like, this is the healing and the care that I received during this journey. And it was always really fascinating because we would report similar things.
What the actual farm?
Someone that like came and gave us some wisdom, gave us like a similar wisdom each that we afterwards were like, oh my gosh, like they told me that too, or something like that.
Yeah, stories of our lives are fascinating, and again, our theme that we keep going back to, it's like whatever happens, as long as you're having fun,
Yep.
and create the existence that you want.
That's why the kitties and I have so much fun.
That was really cool hearing about the shamanic journey and connecting into those realms. That's
Yeah, it's been like a super cool thing that I learned here, and then have like stayed connected with some of the people that I learned with, and then done some things with some other people that I've met along the way.
yeah, it's real.
It is real, and after my mom passed, my mother and my father were very much two peas in a pod, so I said to him, I could show you how to journey, and that is a way that I can still connect with her energy. And if
Yeah.
you like, I can share that with you. And he tried it and had an experience with her. And I was so happy that he was open to it. And it's been fun to share that with him.
Farm.
Yeah.
And that is Cleocatra, everyone. Yeah, that just made my heart jump up a little bit. Thanks so much for all the stories that you've shared and ideas and fun, colorful descriptions, and it's been great.
Thanks for connecting. I always like sharing with you, and we always talk about fun things.
Keep listening to this podcast. Explore the other episodes. Have fun. Stay tuned. There'll be more coming from the Mother Farmin' Elf.
You're welcome. Thank you.